Okay, so we've just received some news here that Fable 5 is coming back along with the basically export controls being lifted on Claude Fable and Mythos 5. So access should be restored pretty soon here. This tweet came out from Anthropic just tonight, and they're going to share some updates in the meantime. And I know a lot of people have been basically waiting on this, and a lot of reporting and poly market bets and Gauzy bets have been saying that this was going to come back by end of month. And I've pretty much stayed quiet on this situation just to see how it plays out. But the reality is, now that Fable 5 is back, a lot of the things people wanted to do with Fable 5 after getting a little bit of a taste is going to be possible again. So Fable 5 is a new class of model. Apparently, OpenAI has something coming down the pipe as well with 5.6, but for now, Fable 5 is going to be the state-of-the-art model, and I'm definitely going to be making a lot of use of it in the next couple of days here as this comes out, because you just don't know how long you have with this stuff. So I recommend that you take complete advantage of this. So as a reminder, let's just take a look at one of the things Fable 5 created when it had first came out, and a lot of people were creating games with it. So here's a game called Victory Royale from the company called Rork, and they were able to create this with Fable 5 within 24 hours. Now, if you don't know why games like this are complicated, it's because of the need to have a multiplayer server room, basically, where anyone can join and start playing. So if you hit play here, play solo, I don't think anyone's on this game right now, but hit play solo, the game is still working, and it's just a little shooter that you can basically walk around, find enemies, swap your weapons, and try to win this game here. Now, the graphics leave a lot to be desired, but to create this in 24 hours, I just wouldn't be able to do this on my own at all. I wouldn't even know where to start developing a game like this. And the fact that you can do it with Fable 5 means that you don't need to be an expert in everything anymore. As long as you know what to prompt and you know your style and your taste, Fable 5 can get you pretty far. And there's going to be a lot of people who start to take advantage of AI who weren't able to before, because one, maybe they just weren't that good at prompting, or for some reason they weren't able to understand all the nuances of the particular models. Fable 5 is going to be one of those models where you just don't really need to prompt it too much. You can give it a prompt and just let it run. Now, this is going to be expensive. There's no way this is going to be cheap. It's highly contested or not, whether or not it'll be on the subscription plan or it will be only API, but I hope they put it on the subscription plan for a little bit at least. But if it's on the API, so be it. I get why this would need to be on the API. So let's get out of this game and go to our next point here. So here was the letter that the government had sent over to Anthropic, basically saying that we sent you an export control earlier on, but now since that time, you've evaluated all the risk associated with what happened. You've put in place security controls that we are comfortable with, and now we are ready to remove that export control. And I think the particular wording here is a license is no longer required for export, re-export, or in country transfer. So they don't have to go apply for this license that would have to be done on a case-by-case basis, which would be really annoying for a company to do. So that's good that it's been lifted. Hopefully a rule like this isn't imposed again. I think this was a last-ditch effort to get them to pull the model off the shelf, and not really a serious attempt to get them to apply for this license. And so a lot of people, when Anthropic got pulled off the shelf, were saying this was a massive overreach. This was going to kill a lot of innovation in the space, and it was going to cause a ton of issues with releases down the line, because now if we have something better than Fable 5, do we release it? Do we not release it? What is the government going to say? And I think a lot of those questions are still not resolved, but this is a positive direction. So straight from the guy who sent over that original export control, he's saying here that yes, we have worked closely with Anthropic to analyze and approve Fable 5 and to ensure alignment across the US government and strengthen America's leadership in AI. Now, I don't know how much of that is lip service, but at least it's a signal that he believes and he wants to have America in the first position, versus what's been happening in the background right now is a lot of people are moving over to the Chinese models because one, the cost of these models are getting a bit out of control, and two, you can't really block open source, and China has decided to really double down on open source. Now, this is a statement from Susie Wiles, hopefully I said that right. And I think the thing to call out here is our shared priority remains get the best tech deployed as quickly and safely as possible. Now, the key word here is quickly, because if we go down the route of how other industries are regulated, it can be very slow. Creating a new drug takes years and years to do. And if technology and AI went the route of healthcare, where this stuff is going to take a long time, or for airplanes where you have to go through so many hoops and regulations to get something released, then of course innovation is just going to have to slow down. There's no way that innovation can move that quickly. I don't think this is resolved yet, but it seems like at least we're paying lip service to the idea of getting this stuff out quickly. And there is pressure from across the pond here. China's not going to slow down on developing models or developing the state-of-the-art stuff. And when we slow down releasing a model for the entire country or the entire world, it's basically just shooting ourselves in the foot, because progress is going to happen in open source. Progress is going to happen in other countries. It's basically just creating a situation where America doesn't have the best models. And I've said this multiple times before, but we have lost the race in AI video. That's gone. There's no competition there. Yes, Google has Omni and you can edit stuff with Omni. I think that's really cool. But in terms of quality of video and precision to the prompt that you give it, Seedance 2 and Seedance 2.5 that's going to be coming soon, there's no competition there. And once they figure out how to edit video, it's pretty much GG's in that space. The reason that happened is in America, the Hollywood industry does not like the idea of AI. And so they've done so much to block access to using any of their training data. And to some extent, I agree, that's their IP. You have a right to defend it. But because of the way our laws are set up and our hesitancy to train on all that IP from Hollywood and movies and TV, it has caused us to fall behind on models. Whereas in other countries, especially in China, that has access to all the TikTok data, and when you sign into TikTok, if you don't have a TikTok account, they're like verbatim, they tell you, we're going to use your videos to train our AI. They just tell you that right off the bat. If you don't want that to happen, you can quietly just exit their platform. And so because they have all that TikTok data and they freely train on it and they go through the length of ignoring our IP laws and training on our stuff as well, they've been able to create some of the best video models. Now, you can argue about the ethics of it, but that's just the case, and that's a technology piece. So I think the same thing could happen in AI, the text encoding portion of it, if we decide to gum things up and make things fall behind because of all these other random issues, maybe politics or issues with IP or the law or regulation. That's just going to gum up innovation. Now, is there good reason to have these safeguards and controls in place? I think so. The solution that's probably going to have to happen is just KYC, which means know your customer. There's a lot of services where before you use it, you have to identify who you are. Even for creating a YouTube channel, if you want access to certain features, you have to identify yourself. So that's going to curb a lot of bad actors. The second you put in you can't be anonymous to use this, you have to be identified, a lot of bad actors go away from that space. And basically, if you need to be identified, that means any bad, nefarious actions that you're taking with the model can then be traced back to you. You're less likely to use the model in that way. But for me personally, I'm not going to use the model to do anything crazy. So if they do bring KYC, I think that's absolutely fine. Who I do feel bad for, though, is anyone who's going to be not a U.S. citizen is likely is going to get access later than the other folks. Or maybe you need some special clearance from the government. That might be possible soon, where you have to be of a certain level in the government to get access to the model, and then it cascades from there. I don't know how that's going to play out, but for sure, at least there is a lip service to we want to get this out quickly, but the other key word here is safely. So once we put the word safety in it, once we put the word security in it, everything kind of changes in terms of how fast things will move. And it's actually funny here that the day they've announced this, they also released Claude Sonnet 5. And early reports, I have not tested this out yet, but early reports, early people trying this out, it's not really going to be that much of a game changer here. It might be cheaper, the cost is less, but at this point, I just feel like always using the Frontier model. I'm not really going back down to Sonnet or going back down to Opus 4.6. But the use case here will be for if you are deploying this for clients, or maybe you have an app that you're doing and you have these type of tasks where it doesn't need the frontier intelligence. Now we can drop down to a Sonnet. There was a gap between Claude models and other models where you always wanted to use the most expensive model because that's the one that performed the best. But now Claude Sonnet 5 is basically claiming to be on the level of Opus 4.6. It's not all the way there yet, but the cost should be less. And if the cost is less and it's giving you Opus 4.6-ish type of outputs, that's pretty good. That's not too bad. So I can see how this would apply to helping make some certain products cheaper and helping make some of these AI workflows a lot cheaper. I wanted to cover that real quickly because it does play into the story a bit that this one went fairly smooth. So it just goes to tell you that this didn't need any clearance, and there's not a lot of hand wringing about releasing Claude Sonnet 5. So that's definitely a indicator that it is a lower intelligence to Fable 5, and I think it's a bit of marketing too. So they could have released this as Claude Fable Lite or something, and that might have gotten scrutiny. So we're at a place now where anything above Claude Fable 5 or Mythos 5 is going to get scrutiny, but anything below it is probably going to be good to go and with no interference from anybody. So as a quick comparison here, and I really like the idea of using a game as a benchmark or a game to illustrate the differences between models. And in this little demonstration here, the idea is asking a couple of models to build the same thing. And you can see here that Sonnet 5 does it for a lot less and less tokens. And so it builds a decent game. This is a decent game. There's really nothing wrong with it. Here's Opus 4.8. It's a pretty good game. Obviously, the graphics are a bit better here. It has more effects happening, and it does cost more. And here's GPT-5 and then Sonnet 4.6. So you can see like Sonnet 4.6 obviously performs the worst. GPT-5 is decent. It's not bad, but you can see here the car, half of the car disappears. It's a bit more expensive and it uses a lot more tokens. Now, to be fair, I don't think GPT 5.5 is geared towards gaming, and Opus 4.8 is a more general purpose model anyways. But the good thing about this is Sonnet 5 is just cheaper and it gives you a decent output. And you can probably just replace your usage of GPT 5.5 with this for certain tasks. I think once we get into like really complex code bases or really complex coding use cases, you probably still want to go up to an Opus 4.8 or 5.5 or even a Fable because you don't want to waste time on incorrect answers or incorrect outputs. So that's my take on Fable 5 coming back. I'm excited about it. I think everyone's going to go unhinged for a couple of days and build all types of wild things. There's going to be use cases where you're going to want to drop down to a Sonnet 5 and just use that level of intelligence because it's cheaper. Fable 5 is not going to be cheap. It's going to be pretty expensive. I will be shocked if they keep it in the subscription, but I think that either way you should be prepared to start paying for AI. I think the subsidized era of AI is coming to a close because either these things need to get a lot cheaper or it's just too expensive for people to continue to subsidize. All right, so when Fable 5 comes back, I might have a video on that specifically, testing it out. But there's a lot of people already covering that stuff, so I don't want to repeat what they're doing. And if I have a really good use case, I'll come up with that at some point. All right, see you in the next one.